Hello, 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 and happy Thursday, y'all. Welcome to Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursdays. I'm Nicole Jones, the Bankroll Your Brilliance expert, and I'm beyond excited to be here with you every single Thursday to talk all things, well, from three subjects. One, what is your brilliance? The one thing that God has created you to do in this world, and then the value tied to it. And then, of course, how do you make multiple streams of income from it? So you have to know I am so excited about today's guest. Well, I'm excited every day, every week, but I'm really, really excited about this guest because I'm getting ready to tell you, you better grab a pen and a paper. But before I bring her up, now those of you that are here with me every week, you know how I do. Tell us hello. Tell me name and where you're joining from. As my grandmother would say, don't walk in this house and not speak. Well, this is a virtual house today, so come on in, tell us hello. Number one. Number two, if you have a question while she shares, I want you to write it in the chat. So you'll see me looking here, and then sometimes my eyes are playing tricks on me. I can't see that far. You'll see me looking here at my iPad. Then the second thing is if she's giving you any value, I want you to give her some hearts. I want you to tell us, because we're not here for us. We're here for you. And the only way we know that we're giving you value is if you share, if you write comments, if you let us know, give us some fire emojis, give us some hearts. So with that said, let's get this party started. So today our conversation is multiple streams of revenue is no longer a luxury. It's a necessity. Multiple streams, no longer a luxury. It's a necessity. And the guest today is the perfect person to talk about this. So let me introduce to you Dr. Pasha Carter. Now, she went from an NFL cheerleader to a multi-millionaire. So you think it's not possible? Hey, Lisa from Baltimore. So Pasha took a $500 investment and turned it into a multi-million-dollar empire. She started her career as an entrepreneur at age 23. What were y'all doing at 23? I'm just saying. Today, she's an industry legend and one of America's most famous and most influential leaders, ranked in the top 15 female networkers in the world. Listen, I want to make sure I read all of her bio. And guess what? I'm not going to read all of it. It's so good. I want you guys to get the highlights. And she's also let me see this part. She's ranked in the top 15 female networkers in the world out of over 14 million women worldwide. She was voted Business Coach of the Year in 2019 and voted one of Dallas's most powerful women. When Dr. Dennis Kimbrough and the Napoleon Hill Foundation, now you guys know Napoleon Hill is the one that wrote Think and Grow Rich, when they interviewed 100 of America's wealthiest African Americans for the New York Times bestseller, The Wealth Choice, Pasha was interviewed alongside Steve Harvey, Tyler Perry, T.D. Jakes, and other influential leaders. As a former owner of a TV network, she created a platform for entrepreneurs to have their own TV shows to expand their brand and gain even more credibility. Now, in the middle of COVID, you know what this woman had the nerve to do? She launched VIP Global Magazine. And I'm going to read what she says, and then we're going to bring her up. And let me again say to you, I'm reading portions of her bio. Her brilliance is so good that I can't even capture it all in this segment. She said, I created VIP Global Magazine to provide business owners and entrepreneurs with a platform to learn, network, and shop in one place, no matter where they are in the world. She's an innovator. She's a trailblazer. She is a woman you want to know. Please help me welcome Dr. Pasha Carter. Hey, girl.
Hey. Hello.
So excited.
Hello.
So excited to have you here.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's jump in because I know, listen, first of all, we can go into sister friend mode and we'll be talking for the next 5 hours. So I'm trying to stay focused because every time I'm around you, I learn so much. And the thing that I absolutely love about you out of the gate is how humble you are. You are such a giver and you're always trying to pull people with you in the journey. So I'm going to commend you for all that you do to make sure all of us that are coming behind you know what to do in our own journey.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yay. So with that said, and by the way, the reason I'm now Dr. Nicole Jones is because of Dr. Pasha Carter, who nominated me. Yay. So with that said, let's talk about why are multiple streams of income so important to you?
Well, I will tell you, let me tell you my story really quickly. So when I first, as you say, I got started when I was 23 years old in business. And I have a little bit of an echo. I don't know if you can hear that, but the thing about it is when I started in business in the beginning, it was one of those things where I was a hustler. I was a grinder. I was like, 24/7, let's build my business. Let's work. And I did that and did very well. My husband and I, we built a successful business, earned well over $10 million. So we did very well, but I got tired. I
Wait. I
got
want y'all to
tired
hear
of
what she said because she said it fast. We earned well over $10 million. How many people do you know that can say that out of their mouth? I'm just saying. Anyway, go ahead. And then you got tired.
Yes, and because I have four kiddos and I love entrepreneurship, but at the same time, I started asking myself, okay, when does this stop? When do I stop getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning? When do I stop the Zooms, the calls, the this, the that? And I was always taught grind, 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 push, 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 24/7. And when I turned 50, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know if I'm really feeling this. And so let me tell you what happened. My husband and I looked at each other and said, you know what? Let's create our own blueprint. Let's think outside, because that's how we are. Let's think outside of the box. And we said, we want to create 10 streams of passive. That means you're not having to do anything for passive income that's generating a minimum of $10,000 each per stream.
Yes.
So we started putting together this game plan. At first, it was just like, okay, how do we do this? This sounds fun. Because my husband made a statement one day. He said, it's time for us to put a suit and tie on our dollars and send it off to work for
Ooh,
us.
come on, wait. Somebody y'all need to tweet that. It's time to put a suit and tie on our dollars and make our money go to work. Oh my God, that's so good.
Yeah, so he said, so instead of us grinding, we're going to send it out to grind for us.
I know that's right.
And I like that. So we started just putting these different streams of revenue in place. And it's amazing because within that short period of time span, we've been able to have multiple streams of income, some at 20,000 a month, some at 5,000 a month, some at 30,000 a month. It's like different ones where we hit our target goal. We still aren't at the 10, but because we have certain ones that are over 10, some that are under 10, we're now like saying, okay, well, let's balance it out. But it just amazed me that now we're home. We don't have to punch a clock. We've never punched a clock, so that's not a thing. But we're not doing the grind and hustle that we used to do. And it's so refreshing. And for us, there's nothing wrong with the grind. There's nothing wrong with speaking, coaching, training, writing, briefing, all of that good stuff. Trust me, I did it for many, many years. But just for me and my husband in the space that we are in right now, we wanted to be able to have those streams of income. And I think it's important because another thing is when I had one stream of income, I know what it feels like to lose that stream of income.
Right. And I love how you said we want to make our dollars work for us. I think so many people that start businesses think that everything they do, they have to be present. And then they think, oh, well, if I'm not present, then people aren't getting all of me. That's not real. You already cap off, well, she just showed you how much money you can make, but you also cap off how much transformation that you can do because you only have 24 hours in a day. If we sleep for 8, then you really would have, what is that, 16 hours left? Nobody works for 16 whole hours unless you really want, like you said, want to grind and be exhausted and be serving from an empty cup. Oh, and then she has 4 kids, not 1, y'all, not 2. She has 4. Hello. Right. So, by the way, if you, all the mothers that are out there that say to me they can't do it because they have kids, I want you to look at Dr. Pasha Carter. I'm just saying. So with that, what's your biggest day of revenue, Nike? When you look at all the things you've done in the years that you've been in business, what is like your biggest day of revenue?
165,000
in a day.
in a day.
That's so good. And what did it teach you from making 6 figures in a day?
It taught me how to condense my time frame. Because what a lot of people do is they look at the money and think, oh my God, you made almost 200,000 in a day. I don't look at it from a monetary perspective. I look at everything based on time. And I say to myself, I made in a day what used to take me a year to make. So now I have a year of my life. So, it's one of those things where I place value on time because for every dollar that I make, it gives me more time. And every dollar that we make passively, it gives us more time while that money is making money for us. Mm-hmm. So for my husband and I having 4 kids, our whole thing is let's create memories. We're traveling the world with our kids. We want to go here and there and let them experience things. I want them to have all of me. And when I say all of me, I mean my time and that true where I'm not there and focused on 25 other things that I need to be doing. Right. And so that's why it was so important for us, especially when at one time at the height of our career years ago, we were top leaders in a company and that company went through some transition as companies do. Mm-hmm. And it ended up, we left that company because of some things that were unscrupulous that were taking place behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. But what happened was what a lot of people don't know is when you're making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month, and that income stops overnight and you don't have anything else in place, it teaches you a quick lesson. Because a lot of times for me, I used to take value in being loyal to a company, or loyal to a business. I'm just tunnel vision. I'm doing this one thing. I'm giving it my all. This is,
Right.
And it sounds really, really good until it's not. And it sounds really, really good to have that one big stream of income until it's gone. And so that taught my husband and I a lesson early in our career, well, midstream in our career, that if we don't have multiple streams of income, I tell people all the time, you can give your job, you can give your company everything you have, but if you die tomorrow, they're going to have a wanted ad the next day and replace you because they have to, because that's what businesses have to do. So I feel that as an individual, I was more loyal to companies than they were loyal to me. They were loyal to me when I was bringing in the revenue and we were bringing in the big teams and we were generating the revenue. But as soon as you start doing other things and saying, hey, I have this and I have that, or they don't see you bringing what they need, then they will replace you.
And, the thing that I love about you the most, one of the things I've been saying is in COVID, the one thing that never gets canceled is your brilliance, is your purpose. And what you show us is how do you take the thing that you know so well and look at all the ways you can serve the world with it. And what that has done is begin to help you and your husband. And by the way, our husband is our business partner. I just love watching you together. So, just you in and of yourself, you give us so many examples of what it looks like to be a mother and not leaving your business behind because you're a mom, what it looks like to work alongside your husband and not having to dim your light to work alongside your husband. And then what does it look like to take your brilliance and realize it's better served if I create ways that I do not have to be present, so I can then be present as a mom and a wife and a sister friend and all the things you do in the world.
Right. And it's not difficult. That's the other thing that I want people to know, because I think a lot of times we overthink it. When I started putting myself in different circles, I started to realize that the world operated differently in different spaces.
Right.
And so I would pay $30,000, $40,000 to go to these small mastermind groups. And I meet some of these top business owners and I would pick their brains and sit down and I would just kind of leave those meetings and go, they're doing it different. Like they're not like this whole let's grind for the rest of our lives thing is not what they do. And so when I started to see the types of businesses that they would put in place and the types of things that they invested in, it just started to open up my mind. And at that time, what I want people to know is I didn't know a whole lot about different businesses. I'd mastered one thing. Let's stay on that. I knew one thing in my direct sales. That's how to build a big direct sales company and how to recruit, train, brief, and all that kind of stuff and get customers. But I didn't know a lot about traditional entrepreneurship. And so for me, when I started to learn that I could have an e-commerce store where it's hands off, like my husband and I, we have Amazon stores. We show people how to get their own Amazon store where you can earn money, where you are a legitimate Amazon store. So during COVID, I was looking at everybody, people who didn't even understand online shopping, started shopping online. We had 70-year-olds who were afraid to put their money on that thing, that little computer thing, that were calling their kids going, hey, baby, how do I order something on Amazon? So when I started seeing that trend shifting, my husband and I said, we have to jump in front of this. So we immediately got us an Amazon store. There are Walmart stores. People don't understand. Walmart's chasing Amazon. So if you can get a Walmart store that's online and have someone, and here's the thing, don't feel you have to take a course, learn how to put your Amazon store together, figure this out. We don't do any of that. My thing is I want to pay someone who's an expert to do it. You do the marketing, you find the products that are trending, because the products that I would pick may not be the products that people are using, and I don't want to do that. But if I can pay someone and have them create that for me, then that creates a passive stream. We also have a funding program where we help small businesses get funding for their business. So those people, like just this week, we've helped over 3 people get $250,000 plus in funding, where they can now take that money to, they want to pay off debt, if they want to invest in the business, if they want to upgrade the business that they have and scale the business that they have, and they don't even have to have stellar credit for that. So that's another stream of revenue.
Right, but I got to stop you because y'all look. She's dropping nuggets. You don't realize it. I want you. Let me go back because you keep dropping nuggets on top of nuggets, and I might not remember because I'm not writing. Because look, I was leaning forward. I was like, Nicole, you're a host. Lean back. You're supposed to be hosting, right? But I'm learning too, right? So you guys listen. Number one, if she's giving you any value, y'all are silent. She's probably, as one of my clients would say, she's probably snatching your edges, because you weren't ready. So number one, I want you to realize she said I invested over $30,000 to get in a room to learn what she did not know. So she didn't rely on what she already knew. She was willing to expand her capacity. Because listen, if and I always use, look, you know, you're a shopper like me, Pasha. So I say, when I get these really bad shoes, I try them on a Nordstrom. I'm trying to fill out if they're going to stretch or not. Because if they're not going to stretch, I'm not buying them because they're going to hurt. So the same thing, you can't expect your business or your brilliance to stay here. If you want this much wealth, you've got to expand your capacity to be able to go and get it. And then she said, after she said in that first group, this is reviewing my notes in my head, and if I say something wrong, please correct me. Then after she did that first thing and began to understand this level of business, when she saw Amazon was fruitful, instead of her trying to figure it out, she hired someone, again, investing. Because you got to spend money to make money. And the number of people that I meet, especially, dare I say, black folks, since we are Black Doctor, that want to do it the cheap way and sign up for all this free. I'm going to get on this free webinar. I'm going to go to this free thing. And it gives you a great appetizer when you need a whole meal.
Absolutely. And the other thing is every dollar is a seed. And we have to decide what we're going to do with that seed. So either we can take that $500 and we can go buy something and look good. You know, I always tell my girlfriend, stop buying a $4,000 person. You don't have $4,000 in it. Let's not do that, because there's nothing worse than creating this, I want to look wealthy versus becoming wealthy. So I teach my kids this. Every time I give them a $10 bill, you decide what you're going to do with it. You can go blow it at Chick-fil-A if you want to. Or you can say, wait a minute, if I take this 10 and add it to another 10 and add it to another 10, and then I invested in crypto or I invested in something else, what could possibly happen in the next few years? Right. So I look at you, we're either destroying those seeds of money or we're growing those seeds of money. And for us, our whole thing is, how can we grow these trees of wealth where generations can sit in the shade because of the wealth that we've built? Yes. And that's how we look at it. So for us, whether it's funding, whether it's the Amazon store, whether it's cryptocurrency, whether it's so many different things that we have, but we have a few requirements. Every stream of income, and my husband and I agreed on this. Number one, it has to be something that we don't have to physically show up to do. If it looks like work, we're no longer interested. And I know that goes against everything that we're taught in business. And I know some people are going to really get me for this. Right. And I get the grind thing, you guys. I get the hustle hard.
And I want you guys to get this, because she's talking from you get to a certain level and you should begin to look at how do you take yourself out of your business. So when you start, you got to get clear and understand. So I believe at the beginning, and I still don't think you have to really grind like that in the beginning, when you get clear on who you serve and who you don't serve. But when you get to a certain level, it should become more and more grind less, if that's a word. Absolutely. So don't think you're going to start your business today. Look, don't think, those of you that have never been in business, you're going to start your business today and you're not going to have to put some skin in the game, as my husband would say. So you've got to learn first. And then when you get to that level and you've gotten some success under your belt and you've got some revenue under your belt and you understand it, that's when you can do this next level. And I'm saying that because at the end, I'm going to ask Pasha to tell you how you can get in touch with her. And those of you that are just getting started, don't think you're going to jump from here to have an Amazon store that's going to be fruitful when you're not willing to put any skin in the game. I have to say that, because some of these people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to be rich tomorrow. Yeah, no, that's not happening.
Absolutely. But, here's the other thing is, as you're earning revenue in your business, what are you doing with it? That's the other thing, because we all are. If you have a business and it's not earning revenue, that's a problem. Because there are too many ways to earn revenue. Nobody should be broke in 2022. There are just way too many opportunities. So if right now your business isn't fruitful, that's a major problem, because that shouldn't be the case. So you've got to now shift whatever you're doing, because money is, I don't want to say it's easy to make, but it's simple when you're around the right people in the right group. So for instance, we have a Facebook group where the whole reason for our Facebook group is we share business ideas. We share, it's like a whole group where it's like, we're like, okay, hey guys, this week I found this. It's generating, such and such return per month. If you're interested, here's the link, And so it's one of those things where it's like, don't call us, we're not explaining it. This is what we're doing, because here's how this all started. My husband, when we were first starting to kind of talk about this multiple streams of things, right? He would wake up every morning and he'd open up his laptop. And so I noticed he'd open up his laptop, he'd be on his laptop for about an hour and a half, and then he'd close his laptop up, and then he would do nothing for the rest of the day. And that's unlike him, because for 20 years, my husband has been glued to the phone, taking calls, answering calls, doing, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm just watching, and I'm like, what are you doing? And I started seeing revenue come in. And I think it was like within a 6-month time span, he made about $450,000 from his laptop, just opening up his laptop in the morning. I'm like, what are you doing? And so he said, I'm kind of exploring this cryptocurrency thing, and I'm working with these guys, and it's a group of them where they share different things that they're investing in. And so it was refreshing for me, because what we started to do was we said, okay, that's a stream of revenue. Then we started doing other streams, and then adding other things. And our goal is every single month to add a new stream of revenue.
That's so good.
Passive. Because people think multiple streams of income means multiple streams of work. We're not talking physical currency. That's not what we're talking about. And that's why I think so many people are focused on one thing, because they feel like, I'm so focused, I'm so busy, I can't do anything else. Well, yes, that's because what you may be doing is taking that physical currency, when you can have 20 things going and money's just flowing in because you put something in place that's working for you versus you working for it.
That's so good. One of the main things that I learned, even in my own journey as an entrepreneur, because I was broke and broken at the beginning for 17 years, those of you that know my story. And it wasn't until I learned what I call making money while you sleep. Listen, I remember when my first client that I had overseas in Singapore, who went through my online program, hey, Pam Perry, who went through my online program, literally sent me an email when she was done, meaning she went through that program and I wasn't there. And I was like blown away. I have a client in Singapore. But again, I want you guys to get this. When you begin to look at how can you package your brilliance and begin to look at even other ways, that might be an offshoot. That might be one step that's related to it, but it begins to help you look at all the ways you're serving the world while revenue's coming back to you, which ultimately for me, I always say M plus M, money creates greater meaning. Because you can give to donations or causes you greatly care about. Like Pasha's talked about this, you can spend more time with your family. You can, like I've been able to, I redid the childhood home I grew up in, and then in the middle of COVID, I sold it and made double what I put in it. But it wasn't unless I gave to get back.
Right.
And I think people leave out the giving. Even God talks about stewardship, stewarding your gift. Giving that 10% is talent, treasure, and time. And the thing that I love about your story is the time you've put in, and the fact that you've been unapologetic about it, that you're not doing anything anybody around you is doing, and you're definitely blazing a trail, but you've had to do it afraid. And I want to talk about that for a minute, because when you're doing something you've never done before, it's going to be scary. So when you first started with that $500 or any part of your journey, what did you have to do to push through fear to go after what was next for you?
Well, honestly, I was more afraid of having a job and working for 30 years for somebody else than I was of starting my own, because I'm wired like, I always tell people everybody's not cut out to be an entrepreneur, but if you are, you are. And I'm one of those people where I was never going to be to work on time. So it was no need in me even trying, to do that for 30 years. I wasn't going to call somebody to ask them if it was okay for me to go on vacation for 2 weeks with my family. I'm just not wired like that.
Yeah.
And so it's okay if there are people that are. It's just I knew that wasn't me. And I knew I wouldn't last long in that environment. So I knew I had to figure out some type of entrepreneurship that would work. Because I would get fired real fast. And I'm one of those people, I got fired from every job. And so and they should have fired me. And so it was one of those things where I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneurship. So I didn't have a whole lot of fear. My biggest fear was not working and having to go back to a job. So that motivated me. And so for me, it was always putting myself in the right room, putting myself around the right people, and always having a heart to give back. The interesting thing when you talk about that room that I would spend $30,000, $40,000 to go in these mastermind rooms, I would leave those rooms and then I'd come back and share all that information with people for free. But then I realized that a lot of times they didn't have the same value, because they didn't realize that the information I was giving them for free was information that I just spent a whole lot of money on. But because they weren't in that room, they didn't understand the value of it.
Right.
And that's why when I say as an entrepreneur, you have to be wired a certain way that when you hear good information, that you take it, even if it's unfamiliar to you. Because here's the thing, if you're not where you want to be financially, most things that people teach you that are wealthy is going to be unfamiliar to you, because if it were familiar to you, you would be there.
Right.
And I think the biggest mistake that a lot of times that we make is we take advice from people who look good, smell good, and sound good, but they're not where we want to be. And so I tell people all the time, if someone is not, my goal is to get in a room where people are making way more than me, because they're going to stretch me to get to where they are.
That's
And I'm going to
good.
learn different ways of doing things. So I pride myself in, I don't want to be the wealthiest person in my circle. I don't want to be the smartest one in my circle. And that doesn't make me feel small when I'm in these rooms. It makes me feel like I'm in the right place. So I've always tried to position myself around those people. So when Steve started doing this whole thing and start making money from his laptop, I remember looking at him and saying, honey, you got to share this with people. And I remember him saying, babe, for the first time in my life, I'm free. For the first time, I'm not taking phone calls. For the first time, it's me and my laptop. And I was like, yeah, I know, but you still got to share this with people. And he was like, okay. He says, but we got to find a way where if we share this with everybody, that is not pulling me back into teaching, coaching, training, and all of that, right? And so that's why we created a Facebook group, to where now it's like, okay, if he's investing in something, or if I have something that's working for us, it's like, okay, we're going to share it with you guys. And then we have such a great community where if people have questions, they're answering the questions and saying, hey, here's how you do this, here's how you do that, which allows us to still be in that freedom space and also help other people get there. Because our passion has always been, it's never been about, how much money we can make. We've always been blessed to be able to figure out a way to be able to be successful in our own right. But what we're passionate about is traveling the world, being wealthy, and going with a group of people, and because we taught them how to do the same thing with their families. So it's not about just generational wealth for my 4 kids, but for our entire following, so they can do the same thing for their generations.
That's so good. That's so good. So listen, Pasha's given us so much. Number one, I want you guys to share the value that you've already gotten. And she could talk about this for the next 3 days, probably straight without taking a break, maybe a bathroom break, maybe to eat, maybe. So with that, Pasha, if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to find out how they can work with you or what have you, where do they go?
Well, the easiest thing is go to VIP Global Network, VIP Global Network on Facebook. That's our private Facebook group. Let's say that you were on the show, the blackdoctors.org show, and that'll get you in, because we do screen, because we want to make sure that we have the right people in there. When you get in that group, you'll be introduced to a lot of the things that we're doing. And you can also find me on, that's perfect, VIPGlobalNetwork.com. There, you can go there and it'll lead. Look at you, I like that. Look, I can just stop talking. That's where you find us.
VIP Global Network. So thank you, Pasha, for all you are, all you do. Thank you again for showing us what's possible. As an African-American woman, and her husband's black too, y'all, I think so many of us think this is not for us because we've never seen it. And so I want you to see a living, breathing example of what a multimillionaire looks like, but also what it looks like to give back, to be more focused on how you transform others than the Mercedes, the Gucci, and all that stuff is great. But her focus isn't that. And that's the thing I love the most about you, Pasha, is that you don't focus on material. You focus on the transformation that you give to this world when you do what you do. So I appreciate you.
What I wanted to say one thing in closing on what you just said, because you brought up something that's near and dear to my heart. One of the things that really motivates myself and my husband is when we as a culture, every year when we were interviewed for the Wealth Choice with Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, they did a survey and they took a look at wealth in this country. And I see how the wealth gap is just getting wider and wider and wider. And unfortunately, when I look at African Americans, Black people on that scale, we're getting further and further behind. And that shouldn't be the case, because our buying power, we're the biggest consumers. We're 12% of the population, but we're the biggest consumers in this country, meaning we go out and we buy all of the great, beautiful things. So we have buying power. And somewhere along the line, we're misdirected. And our goal is to help as many of us as possible say, hey, there's nothing wrong with living a lavish life. But at the same time, I want you guys to create the lavish wealth, true wealth for you and your family. So the reason we're teaching all of these things and showing people all of these things is because I want that wealth gap for us to start to, creep up here, where when you look at the average household in America, that we're not on the lowest of the low totem pole when we
Yeah.
built this country. So
Yeah.
those things are near and dear to our heart. And we know because we've done it, if you can do a thing, you can teach a thing. And our thing is we're just looking for the ones who are looking for it. We understand everybody's not wired this way, and that's okay. You know, we've all been taught different things. But for those that are saying to themselves, you know, I want to get on the other side of money. I want to be able to enjoy my life. I want to create wealth and give back and not have to worry about bills and all this kind of stuff and figure out how to do it. That's who we're looking for. And, you know, it's just time for us to change that statistic. I'm just, every time I look at that, it's just, it bothers me.
Yep. So there it is. You guys hear the motive behind the mission. So again, thank you, Pasha. Those of you that are interested in learning more, it's there on your screen, VIP Global Network. Thank you again for all you are. I appreciate you more than you know, girl.
Thank you. Love you. Love
Love
you,
you too.
sis. All right.
So that was this episode. Woo! She gave you so much. Some of y'all need to go back and watch this again and again and again and again, whether it's to take notes or to let her show you what's possible. One of my favorite quotes my auntie said once is, don't limit God's ability to bless you. And so again, what Dr. Pasha represents is God going abundantly above all you can ask or think. And what he does is he uses what he already placed in you to go after it. For those of you that need support, even if you're ready to start your purpose focused business and you don't know what to do and don't know where to start, I don't even have it on here, so I got to type it. So I have a free quiz called the Brilliance Roadmap Quiz. I'm going to offer this to you now. I'm typing it in because here's what I know. Many of you want to start a journey of starting a business. Brilliance Roadmap. I'm trying to talk and type at the same time. I didn't know I was going to put this up here, and you don't know where to begin. And so this quiz is free. It shows you where you are in the journey, and it gives you your next steps of activation to get off for free. So whether you are able to go into the VIP Global Network or take this quiz, what I know for sure is when you join me here on Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursdays, it's because now is your time. My final share with you is if you want even more tools and tips and insight around taking your gift and doing two things, studying the full power of who God created you to be, and then understanding how to create multiple streams of revenue from it, follow me on Instagram. My favorite new place. I share insight all week long on my Instagram channel, which is in Roberts Jones. I was going to say Nicole.com. In Roberts Jones. My name is too long for the whole thing. And again, if this is giving you any value, do me a favor and click the button below and share it. There's someone in your network that can benefit from all the insight that Dr. Pasha shared on this episode. So with that said, that's this episode of Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursdays. I'll be here again next Thursday to pour even more into you at 12 p.m. EST. Thank you again for joining us. I'll see you next week.